Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to the very first Mason Outdoors Q&A video. This video is going to be pretty raw and uncut because there's a lot to get to and I'm not going to do multiple takes. So if you see me looking down here over here, I've got my laptop down here with sort of an outline for the video and all of the questions that I'm going to cover. So that's why I'm looking this way if you see me doing that sometimes. First things first, I'm going to go down my list. I gotta say thanks for all the participation on that community post that I posted about a week or two ago, depending on when I post this video, asking for your questions. So I got tons of questions and we're going to cover all of them. Some of the questions I have combined into one question because it was a lot of the same stuff. Some questions were worded kind of poorly grammatically, so I may have rewritten your question. But if you ask a question, I'm going to answer it here in this video. And then also on that post, I said I would film this video the next time I go out to the range, sort of when I've got some downtime or something, but I thought about it. And it's the height of summer here in Texas, y'all. It's hot and it's only going to be getting hotter the next couple of times I go out to film. So I decided to film the video here in my workshop. I'm in my leather workshop is where I'm at in my house. I'm just going to film it here because if I filmed it out at the range, my camera will overheat and it would be kind of a nightmare to get through everything. I'd have to keep letting the camera cool down, turning it back on. It would be a real nightmare. So instead I decided, you know what, let's just sit up here in the comfort of air conditioning. That way I can cover everything and also get the video out to you sooner. And then real quick, I want to cover a couple of ways before we get to the questions. I want to cover a couple of new things and ways to support the channel. So it's no secret that YouTube and other platforms aren't ultra supportive of certain types of content, certain genres. I think you know what what I'm talking about here. So it makes it, a bit of a unique challenge for a channel like this to try and generate revenue so I can keep making videos and giving you guys what you want and also what I enjoy doing. These videos that I produce, the ammo test and a lot more stuff coming up, they're not cheap. They're not cheap to make. It costs a lot of money. So I need ways to generate revenue, right? So one new thing that I have just set up is channel memberships. And there's two tiers right off the bat. I've got Range Buddy and then Range Boss. And I've tried to keep these very affordable while still providing a lot of benefit to you guys if you choose to sign up. And I'm starting to recognize a lot of your sort of handles in the comments. So I know there's a lot of people that watch the same, watch the videos as I produce them. You're fans of the channel, thank you so much for that. But if you'd like to support a little bit more and become a channel member, I'd love to have you, and there's going to be a couple of benefits. So the first one, if you're a Range Buddy, that's the bottom tier, you're going to get what's called priority comments. What that means is when you comment on a video, I'll be able to see your comment right off the bat. It doesn't get lost in the shuffle and I will respond. So at this point, I've got so many videos out there and so many people are watching, which is an incredible thing. Thank you so much. I can't get to every comment. I just can't do it. It's impossible. I don't see all the comments. There's comments that I never see on a lot of my videos. It's just too much to keep up with. But if you become a Range Buddy member on the channel, there'll be sort of like a little designator on your account that I'll be able to filter the comments to, and I guarantee I'll see your comment and respond as soon as I can. So if that's something you would like, I think it would be a lot of fun interacting that way. Join up as a Range Buddy. Very affordable and a great way to support the channel. That way I can keep bringing you guys these videos. The next tier I think is going to be super cool. A lot of you guys are going to like Range Boss. So that's the next level up. And there's only two tiers. Nothing crazy. Just Range Buddy, Range Boss. With Range Boss, what you get is early access to every video that I've got queued up at any given time. So the way that I film is in batches. I'll go out to the range, film for several days, come back home, film the clips that I do here in my workshop, the bullet analysis and final thoughts and stuff like that, and then put the videos together and upload them and schedule them, sometimes several weeks, even months in advance. So if you join as a Range Boss, you get early access to every video that I've got queued up to go live at any given point in time. For example, at the time I'm recording this, I've got like another, 7 or 8 videos that are queued up and ready to go that are gonna go live, one video every Sunday and Thursday during the week. That's been my schedule. But if you join as a Range Boss, you get early access to everything I've got queued up so far. So say you did it right now and you joined as Range Boss, you would get immediate access to all of those videos right now. And you don't have to wait around for the videos to go live twice a week. And of course, also with Range Boss, you get priority comments as well. All right, I'm actually filming this particular clip the next day. That's why I'm wearing a different shirt. I forgot to talk about, if you don't know how to join and become a member, what good does it do for me to talk about it, right? So if you're on mobile, like on your phone, on the YouTube app, something like that, or desktop, it doesn't matter. Go to the description of this video or the pinned comment, and there's going to be a link right at the top there for you to click and go through, and you can join the membership. It's really easy. Now, if you're on desktop only, you're watching on your laptop or something, you can also go to my channel's homepage, and right up by the subscribe button, I'll put a picture up here on the screen. There's going to be a little join button as well. You can click that to join and go through and become a member as well. For some reason, it doesn't show that on the mobile app or on cell phones. So if you're on a cell phone, mobile app, video description, or pinned comment, there's a link straight through to join. So that's one way to support the channel. Another way is, first, well, I'll cover the name change of the channel. That goes into this. So I recently changed the name of the channel from Mason Leather to Mason Outdoors. Now, the reason for that is way back when I started the channel, I was going to call it Mason Outdoors. That was the original name that I wanted to call it. There were several other small channels that they're already called Mason Outdoors or a variation thereof, and I didn't want to compete with that. So I decided to call it Mason Leather. And the reason for that is my primary business that I operate, I'm self-employed, is leather work. So my website, masonleather.com, that you see in my videos that I talk about, that a lot of you guys have ordered from. Thank you so much. I love that. That's why I named the channel that, Mason Leather. But as the channel has grown and really outpaced anyone else that's called Mason Outdoors and sort of grown in scope, and going forward it's going to grow more in scope, I thought more about it and wanted to change it to Mason Outdoors to sort of be a lot more all-encompassing of what the channel's about. And these ammo test videos this is just one series. I can't emphasize that enough. I know it seems crazy, but all of the ammo tests, this was just one idea that I had. This is one series of videos, and it's just what I started with. It's a monumental undertaking, but it's just the first thing that's coming. So I wanted to change the name to Mason Outdoors to really encompass everything that I might do on the channel. So that's why the name changed. But also, another way to support the channel that I bring up, again, because YouTube doesn't like certain forms of content, is my new website, masonoutdoors.com. I have masonleather.com, where you can order your handmade custom leather gear. Everything on it I personally make myself and ship out to you myself. If you send in an email, ask a question, call me on the phone, I'm the guy that answers, nobody else. So that's the number one thing. But masonoutdoors.com is my new website, and I have that linked to YouTube Shop. So YouTube has a shopping feature. Not a lot of channels use it, especially not a lot of channels in this space, they don't use it. But if you look down under the video, there will be a bar, and it'll say, I can't remember off the top of my head, it says Shop the Mason Outdoors Store, or something like that. And there's several products. You can go down there, click on that, it'll open up a screen, and you can purchase those products right through my website, masonoutdoors.com. I get a little commission. It is an Amazon affiliate thing. It helps a ton, so please do that if you're looking for outdoor gear. And also, you can go to my channel page and click the store page, or store button or section or whatever it is, and it'll open it up to show you a whole bunch of products that I have on my website, Mason Outdoors. And every single product you see there or on the website, I personally use and can recommend. It's great stuff. I've used a lot of it for years. Some of it's newer, but I'm not going to be putting anything on there that I personally don't use or wouldn't recommend. So you know it's good stuff. All right, so that's enough about that. Then the third way to support the channel is, of course, masonleather.com. My leather gear, you see it in all my videos, handmade by me. I've been doing it at this point for, gosh, what is it, 2024? 12, 13 years I've been doing leather work. I've shipped stuff all around the world, lots of customers from Australia, New Zealand, all over Europe, Canada, and of course the United States. check it out, masonleather.com. I'd love to make you something. I truly enjoy it, and it means a lot when anyone places an order. It's great for yourself, great for gifts, a lot of custom options. So if birthdays, holidays are coming up, check it out. Get yourself a cartridge cuff, rifle sling, stuff like that. All of it helps me bring you guys more videos. All right, so that's sort of the end of sort of the housekeeping items I wanted to cover before we get into the questions. We're gonna jump right into it, y'all, and get to the questions. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into you guys' questions. So I wrote all of them down in an Excel document. That's what I'm looking at right here to keep it organized. And I changed the wording on some. The grammar was pretty bad on some of them. There was a few I couldn't really understand what you're trying to ask. And there were some questions that were real similar, so I may have combined them into one question. But if you ask something, I'm going to get to it in the video right now. So I broke them down into 4 categories. So the first thing we're going to cover are questions regarding ammo tests. The next one is going to be guns and ammo. So something that's not ammo test related, but something, you know, about guns and ammo that I'm interested in that people wanted to ask. The third category is hunting related questions. And then the final category is going to be personal / other questions, which there's some cool stuff in that. So definitely stick around till the end and listen to everything to get to those sort of, you know, a little bit more off the wall questions at the end. All right, so question number 1, and we got, how many do we have? We've got 46 questions to get through, and I'm going to try and do all of these in one video. So number 1, regarding ammo tests, which caliber has surprised you the most, and have you changed your mind on any caliber or bullets? I told you, there's going to be bloopers and stutters in here. I'm doing this in one take. So right off the bat, 2 calibers come to mind that I either wasn't sure about or maybe thought one way and now think another. So number 1 is 6.5 Creedmoor, right? So a lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. I don't know that there's been a more controversial caliber over the last, it came out in 2007, I think, so coming on 20 years at this point. Lately, it's become much, much more popular. Initially, it wasn't that popular, but I've definitely solidified my thoughts on 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, I haven't hunted with it yet, but based on the results of my tests, I can say that I think it's one of the best deer cartridges out there today. I mean, the ballistics speak for themselves, the bullet weight, the energy. I see the 6.5 Creedmoor sort of as a 243 Winchester with a lot more punch. It doesn't have the recoil of some of your classic deer cartridges. It's got less recoil than a 270 Winchester, less than a 30-06, and at the same time, a lot more punch than something like a 243. So in terms of results in my tests, I think the 6.5 Creedmoor really has surprised me. It tends to penetrate well. There are a lot of different loads that perform very, very well, and I wouldn't hesitate to use it on deer, hogs. Man, with the right ammo and choosing your shots, I think it's a capable elk caliber. Now, I wouldn't go out of my way to use it for elk. I would choose something else if I had the option, but I think it can do it with the right ammo and, you know, being careful about your shots. So 6.5 Creedmoor is number 1. The other caliber that has sort of surprised me that I didn't really have any preconceived notions about was 350 Legend. There are a lot of 350 Legend loads that perform very well. Again, this is a caliber I haven't personally hunted with, but based off the results in my tests and sort of, you know, thinking about other classic deer cartridges and how they perform, I think the 350 Legend is a real sleeper. It has hardly any recoil at all. It's got, I think, better terminal ballistics than the 30-30 Winchester or 35 Remington, which are both classic deer slayers. It has been a tremendous commercial success. A lot of people like it and use it, so ammo is very, very available. Man, I am not used to talking for this, you know, this long at a time. I gotta lubricate the old vocal cords. But yeah, with the 350 Legend, there's so much ammo available for it. And I mean, hunting ballistics wise, I think it's got it. You know, if you're not purposefully taking real long range shots or something like that, I think it's a great option. And there was something else I was going to say about it. Oh, at least in my rifle. So my 350 Legend is a Ruger American Ranch, short little 16-inch barrel. The rifle is lightweight. It barely recoils at all, and it's extremely accurate. So I don't show accuracy results in most of my ammo test videos for a lot of reasons I don't need to get into here. What, you know what, that would actually be good. I'll add that to my question sheet of why I don't do that. But I fire a test a test string of shots at a target behind the gel blocks every time between switching loads, because I don't change my zero between loads. So I need to see where the bullets are hitting so I can adjust my aim on the blocks and actually hit the gel blocks at 100 yards every time, because points of aim are different for different kinds of ammo. And what I've seen is the 350 Legend it tends to be kind of a sweet shooter. It tends to be pretty accurate. And I think a lot of that has to do with, number one, it has such light recoil, so you're not flinching, you're not worried about it kicking you hard or anything like that. And number two, the particular rifle I have, the Ruger American Ranch, the barrel's short, it's stiff. Ruger Americans, despite how cheap they are known to be really good shooters. So anyway, so that's another caliber that has really surprised me. And then also in that question was asking about bullets. Are there any bullets that I've changed my mind on, or, I'll say surprised me? So I kind of went into these ammo tests with a very, very open mind. And I guess I'd say I'm surprised at how consistent Federal Fusion is. And I might sound like a broken record at this point. If you've watched my ammo test videos, man, it's every single time. Federal Fusion just dominates every single time. It does the same thing every time. And it's just beautiful to see. So I've been pleasantly surprised at how good that stuff does. And I guess besides sort of, the outlying failures that we've seen in a lot of the tests, I can't say there's anything else that I've, changed my mind on. All right, so that was question 1. That took quite a while. This video is going to be long. Question 2, are there any long-range ammo tests coming? So I got to start speeding up these answers a little bit. So the range that I film on, it's only so far, right? So in theory, I could back it up to about 170 yards or so. That's about how far I've got if I really wanted to, but people don't want to see that. If I'm going to do 100 to 100, otherwise people want to see 200, 300, you know what I'm saying? And right now, I just can't really do further than 100 yards. It's not logistically feasible. At some point in the future, I want to extend the range. I have to do a lot of work to do that. I've got to whip out the chainsaw, cut down trees, get a forestry mulcher and extend it back. But at some point, I do plan on extending my range to where I can reach out at least to 300 yards. And so there will be long-range ammo tests in the future. I don't know when that's going to happen. This is a longer-term thing here. Don't expect these videos to drop tomorrow or something. This is going to be down the road. But I do plan on it one day when I can get there. All right, next question. Any 270 videos on the way? So 270 Winchester, a lot of people commenting about this. The answer is yes. I've got a whole batch of videos that I'm going to film this fall it's all 270 Winchester. It's all your favorite loads. It's all the popular ones. I don't know exactly when those videos are going to go live, but I do plan on filming them this fall. All right, next question. Will I be doing rimfire ammo tests? Yes, I've actually already got a whole bunch of 22 Magnum ammo. When I'm going to get to that, I really can't tell you. I've got so much to get through. It's kind of ludicrous, but yes, I'll be doing rimfire tests. 22 Magnum, 22 WMR, 22 long rifle, 17 HMR, maybe, 17, probably not 17 Mach 2 and, the goofy ones, but the main rimfires I'll be doing, yes. Can I do a ballistics gel test of 300 Weatherby mag? So I'm kind of going in order of what's actually the most popular. I'm covering all, the big classic hunting cartridges and the more popular ones of the day first. 300 Weatherby mag and any of the Weatherby cartridges do not fit that criteria. Overall, they are not that popular. They're just not. I know they have a devoted following, but in terms of sales numbers and actual, people using them, it's way, way down the list. But I do plan on getting to them one day eventually. Can I test more 350 Legend loads? So I actually just filmed a whole bunch more 350 Legend loads. Those videos will be coming out as I'm able to edit them and get them loaded up. Hey, and if you join Range Boss membership on the channel, you'll have early access as soon as I have them scheduled. But yeah, lots more 350 Legend loads coming up, including the Hornady Black 150 grain soft point. A lot of people have been asking for that one. It's filmed, it's done. I just got to get the video edited and scheduled. Will I be doing 6.8 Western? That is way down the list. The reason being, once again, it's just not that popular. I know it's a hot new cartridge. A lot of hot new cartridges come out all the time. Will it stand the test of time? I don't know. There aren't even that many, loads available for it. Time will tell if I get to it. I plan on getting to it as long as it sticks around. There's a lot of cartridges that have a lot of hype right up front the first year or two, and then they completely die off. So we'll see what happens. All right, you compared North Fork to Federal for its performance. Was that due to Federal performing all around better than any other brand? So the reason I compared the North Fork bullets, and I think you're talking about the 30 caliber ones, the 308 caliber ones, bonded. I compared those in my video to Federal Fusion because, number one, it was the most comparable load that I'd done. They're both bonded bullets, and they were in the same caliber, 30-06, or the same cartridge, rather. And Federal Fusion is the most consistent performing ammo that I have tested, and it's not that it's all around performing better as per how the question was worded, it's that it is the most comparable bullet. It is. The North Forks are, bonded soft points, essentially. That's what the Federal Fusions are. So that's why I compared them that way. All right, how many dead gel blocks do you have laying around? A lot. So I'm able to get about 10 remelts out of each gel block before it gets, kind of too dark to really be useful. And I've got a pile of them laying out, in my barn on the range that are jacked. There's a few of them that I'm going to remelt again. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them. All right, next up, what do you think is the most underrated cartridge and bullet from all your tests so far? So this question sort of harkens back to the first one that was asked, which was, are there any cartridges that have kind of surprised me or I've changed my mind about? So I honestly think it might be 350 Legend in terms of what's most underrated. I mean, it seems to perform pretty good. There are some people, like if you look in the comments on my videos, there's a lot of people, well, not a lot, there's some people that badmouth it, that, say they've experienced X, Y, or Z, that, it didn't work out. But I think a lot of that has to do with the particular ammo being used. It is a cartridge where you want to pick some good loads for. There is ammo out there. There are loads in 350 Legend that don't perform very well. They just kind of poke holes. You don't want to just poke a hole. You want some terminal damage and good, on-game performance. So 350 Legend is sort of finicky. You can't just use any of the hunting ammo that's out there and expect great results, I wouldn't think. The difference in performance is pretty wide. But yeah, I think in terms of underrated cartridges, 350 Legend is what I would say so far. All right, next up, would you ever consider doing a video on the 44 Magnum Underwood 300 grain XTP? I've heard they have a thicker jacket than the 240 and require more velocity for reliable expansion, and I'm curious to see your take on them. Yes, I absolutely will. I've got a lot more 44 mag ammo to get through. I've got several Underwood loads that I will be testing. The 300 grain XTP will be in there. All right, could we see patched round ball performance, 45 to 72 caliber and everything in between? Man, you're asking a lot there. Way down the list. And the reason for that is there's, statistically, almost nobody is hunting with a patched round ball. So it would be a disservice for most viewers and most hunters out there for me to take time to film that and not film a bunch of other stuff first. So it's just a popularity thing and what more people will want to see. It would be cool. I can tell you pretty much what's going to happen. It's going to hit and penetrate because it's not going fast enough to deform a whole bunch. And honestly, I think the performance would probably be kind of similar to how rifled slugs are out of a shotgun, except you're going to see less deformation. It's not going to like flatten out like some of the slugs do. So it's not going to have the resistance and it's going to be able to penetrate deeper. I think that's what you would see from patched round balls. But yeah, maybe one day if I can get to it. All right. So here's a good question right here. This is something that comes up in the comments a lot, and I've been wanting to address it, on video. So here we go. Fresh shoulder or hip bone in gel. This is how it was worded. Fresh shoulder or hip bone in gel to test bullet integrity in worst case scenarios. So basically setting up the gel tests to have a bone proxy to see how the bullets will perform. Now I'm going to tell you why that's not feasible and why I don't do it. So the way that the question is worded is correct. Fresh shoulder or hip bone. It would have to be fresh right out of the animal, basically not a dead bone or as alive as possible. Because as a bone dries out, its properties change. A dead, dry bone acts very, very different than a fresh living bone. Fresh living bone is extremely strong. Dead dry bone is extremely weak. And the same can be said for plywood and things like that. That's why I don't use any sort of a barrier. Plywood is not a proxy for living bone. It's also not a proxy for dead bone or anything else other than plywood. So it doesn't, do any good. All it does is introduce a variable into what I'm trying to make the most objective test possible. So that's why I don't use barriers. I just use the ballistics gel. That way the test is the same, or at least as close as it possibly can be, every single time for every kind of ammo. That way we can compare the results of each test to each other. If I start introducing barriers, it goes all over the place and it's not objective anymore. And to be able to do this right, so I would have to have a refrigerator truck, or an on-site freezer or something full of hundreds of hip bones or shoulder blades, and that is just not logistically possible. It's not possible. It's not feasible. It's not a realistic thing to expect. Not to mention the absolutely massive mess it would create. So that's why I don't do that. All right, next up, a lot of people asking for this too. 6.5 Grendel test. I've been debating on getting one in an AR platform for a deer. So again, popularity thing. It's not actually all that popular in terms of a deer cartridge. I know a lot of people use it. I see people asking about it. I will be doing 6.5 Grendel. I just don't know exactly when. Next up, and we're still on the ammo test questions. There were a lot of those. How about some tests with a 25-06, and do you have a 25-06 rifle to test ammo with? It's coming. It's coming as soon as I can get to it. I do not have a 25-06 rifle yet. That is a caliber, or cartridge rather, I'm just going to say caliber and cartridge interchangeably, that I am very interested in. It really slings those bullets pretty quick. I'm very curious to see how they do. And it's a caliber that I'm just kind of nostalgically curious about, I guess. So I do want to find a really cool rifle for the 25-06. But yeah, we'll get to it. Do you ever plan to do ballistics videos with pistols or a 444 Marlin? So yes, absolutely. So going forward, I've already done some 44 Magnum tests in the past, but going forward, any 44 Magnum, 357 Magnum, stuff like that, the videos that I make will be both rifle and pistol. And we'll compare them side by side, so that'll be really cool. So yeah, we will have some pistol tests going forward in the future. I'm going to focus at first at least on hunting loads, not really self-defense. There's channels out there that do the self-defense pistol loads. Will I do them? Man, it would be double. I mean, people are already doing. I'll probably wind up doing it too eventually, but I'm going to focus on hunting ammo. And then in terms of 444 Marlin, yeah, absolutely, I'll get to that when I get to it. Would you test 7.62x54R cellular and billet 180s? Yeah, absolutely. Again, when I get to it. Milsurp calibers. So I've got a lot of Milsurp calibers on hand that I can do tests for. But again, it's just not super popular. I'll get to them when I get to them. At least, I mean, not super popular in terms of hunting. There's not a lot of people actually out there hunting with their Mosin Nagant or their, Yugo M48 or their SKS or something like that. I know people do it, but by and large, it's not the popular thing. I will get to them though. Can we get some 357 Magnum hunting round reviews? Just got a lever action and plan on taking it into the woods for deer season in New Hampshire and Maine. Absolutely. I've got a ton of them. I've got a ton of 357 mag loads on hand, and I'll be getting to them when I get to them. So the carbine or rifle, test rifle, is going to be one of the new Marlin, the new Ruger made Marlin 1894s, 20-inch barrel. It's going to be really cool. And then I'm going to pair that with a 3-screw Ruger Blackhawk. And I think the barrel length is 6.5 inches. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we'll be doing each load with both the rifle and the pistol side by side. So that'll be really cool. Are you going to test muzzleloader projectiles? I bought a CVA Wolf for the same reason you did. So I got a CVA Optima. The CVA Wolf is very similar. I've loved it. I killed 2 deer with it last season. I love the CVA Optima. It's inexpensive. It does everything you need it to. It's really accurate. But yes, I will be doing muzzleloader projectiles. I have quite a few on hand. It's just a matter of when I get to it. I mean, I'm putting out 2 videos a week. I'm filming 2 to 3 dozen at a time when I film. There's a lot to get through. Will I be evaluating Berger or Berger, I don't know how to pronounce it, hybrid hunter bullets? Yeah, when I get to it. The ammo with the Berger bullets tends to be really expensive, and I don't have money just floating out of my ears. So if you want me to evaluate Berger bullet ammo, join the channel membership or buy something from masonoutdoors.com or masonleather.com. That'll help me get a hold of that stuff. What is my favorite caliber? All right, so we've officially moved on to the next category. We've gone from ammo tests to guns and ammo category. So what is my favorite caliber? I have a very fond spot for 30-30 Winchester. My first deer I ever killed was with a 270. My second deer was with a 270. But my first wild hog was with 30-30 Winchester. And when I was a teenager, I hunted wild hogs on public land in East Texas all the time. I'm talking every weekend, as often as I could. I would be out there looking for these pigs, and I used a Winchester 94, my dad's Winchester 94. At the time, I mostly used Winchester PowerPoint 150 grain ammo. I'm just throwing that out there. But if I had to pick my favorite caliber, it's just 30-30 Winchester. I love it. Do I reload? So I used to reload a lot, and then I just, life did what life does, got busy, and I don't reload nearly as much anymore. I do plan on doing more videos where I test reloaded ammo, and maybe try and do some with bullets that you traditionally can't find in factory loaded ammo. I'll get to that eventually, but so I do reload. It's just not super often. What's your opinion on surplus rifles and cartridges, i.e. 8x57, 7.57, 7.62, 54, etc.? I'm a huge fan. I love milsurp rifles. I've hunted with milsurp rifles. I killed a huge boar hog out by Seymour, Texas with a Swiss K31. Hog was on the run through a wheat field. It was one of the coolest hunts ever. I love milsurp rifles. I think it kind of sucks, and it's the same with anything. They're so much more expensive these days than they used to be. I mean, I remember back, and I'm not even that old, right? I remember back when you could get a Mosin Nagant for $69. I bought an M44, not a 9130. Not a what do they call them? T38, the Chinese ones. I bought an M44 Russian for $69 one time. So I remember the good old days. I remember seeing SKSs for $120, stuff like that. So I really like them a lot. They will be making appearances on the channel when I can get to them, when I do the ammo tests for them. So I've got Yugo M48 and 8x57 I'll be doing. I've got a K31 for 7.5 Swiss, of course a Mosin and 7.62x54R, SKS and 7.62x39. Big fan of milsurp. What's your opinion on the 300 Winchester and 300 Weatherby? I don't have a huge opinion on either one. I haven't hunted with either one. I do have a 300 Winchester to do ammo tests with. I've got a bunch of 300 Winchester mag ammo that we'll be getting to when I can get to it. You may have seen my community post recently about the Federal Fusion tipped ammo. I got a small handful of that stuff. One of them was 300 Win Mag, so you will be seeing 300 Winchester on the channel sooner rather than later. But just coming sort of from a non-user perspective, because I don't really use these calibers much, I think that the 300 Winchester is, it's a great option for your bigger, medium game, up to elk, moose, stuff like that. It's perfectly fine ballistically. I think it's got great ballistics for longer range shooting. And probably if you're gonna hunt with it, anything bigger than deer, you probably want to look into a pretty tough bullet, because these bullets are gonna hit hard and fast and break up unless, you know, they're a tougher bullet. And then 300 Weatherby, I've got no opinion on 300 Weatherby. I don't know. What is your least favorite caliber? Okay, so we covered my favorite. My favorite was 30-30. My least favorite caliber. So this is a tough question to answer. I'm going to take it in a little bit different direction. So my least favorite caliber is whatever the current big hype new caliber is at any given time. And it's because they're just not proven. They haven't been around. Who knows if they're going to be around 5 years from now, or if they're going to be a reloading only option. So my least favorite caliber is whatever the hot new thing is at any given time. Have you shot the Smith & Wesson 1854 44 mag? So no, I haven't, and I don't plan on it. If you like them, go for it, of course. You know, everyone's preferences are different. Personally, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. I don't like the looks of the rifle. Not really my style. Moving on. But if you like it, by all means, go for it. We've all got different tastes. All right, so that covers the guns and ammo section of questions. Now we're going to be moving on to hunting. What do I hunt? So whatever's in season wherever I can hunt, right? So primarily, and I'll actually do these next two questions all in one. So it says, what do I hunt? And then where do I hunt? So I'll do where do I hunt first, actually. So I hunt primarily in East Texas. So what do we got in East Texas? We got white-tailed deer, we got wild hogs, we got squirrels, we got dove. There's turkey in limited numbers depending on what part of East Texas we're talking about. Where I hunt is sort of, you know, northeast Texas, and there's not a lot of turkeys. So I don't really turkey hunt much anymore. I used to turkey hunt quite a bit out west of Dallas-Fort Worth, by Graham, Texas. There's a lot of Rio Grande turkeys out there. When I was a teenager, loved doing that. It's so much fun talking back and forth to the turkeys. So if I got the chance, I would hunt turkeys, but I primarily hunt white-tailed deer, wild hogs, doves, and squirrels. I mean, it's sort of a function of what I hunt is a function of where I hunt. Do I prefer bonded, monolithic, or cup and core bullets for deer and larger game, and why? So if I were to have to pick one style of bullet, it would probably be bonded bullets, because they kind of give you the best of both worlds. They give you the weight retention of the monolithic bullets, at least for the most part, and they give you the expansion and some of the shock of cup and core bullets. Not quite as much shock when you look at wound tracks and wound channels. Your more classic cup and core stuff does tend to give more, shock up front. But what I want, in my experience, I want an exit hole. I want a blood trail. That's what I want, because things don't always go according to plan. And the perfect shot isn't always had. You might think it's the perfect shot. The deer takes a step right when you pull the trigger, and that perfect shot isn't so perfect anymore. So that's why I prefer something that will give me an exit hole. So I'm going to go with bonded, at least across most calibers. Favorite animal to hunt and why? So if I had a pick, well, right now, this has changed over the years. So it used to be turkeys, Rio Grande turkeys. I had a lot of fun calling them and stuff like that. Kind of stopped hunting them because we didn't have access to the land anymore. Most of Texas is privately owned. At the time, we were hunting on a construction company's land that, let us go out there, and we had access to turkey hunting. So at the time, my favorite hunting was turkey hunting. Now it's probably white-tailed deer. And it's white-tailed deer because I would say wild hogs, but there's so many of them out in East Texas that, you kind of get wore out on them to a point. And I think the reason I would say white-tailed deer is because they're abundant, but not overabundant. It's not a slam dunk hunt, and depending on how you hunt them, it can be a challenge. Not to mention, if you cook them up right, they taste good. So white-tailed deer right now. Will I ever be hunting out west? So a couple years ago, I think 2 years ago, me and a couple buddies were gonna go to Idaho to do sort of a self-guided elk, mule deer, black bear hunt. We put in for the tags. The way that Idaho does it is you go into, it's like a lottery deal where you get assigned a number, and then if you get through the order queue, it's not a lottery, my mistake. You get through the order queue in time when there's still tags left for your unit, you can buy them. When we did it, it was a complete fiasco. There are so many people trying to do it. The website was crashing and stuff like that. I wound up getting through and being able to buy tags for elk, mule deer, and black bear. Black bear is easy. I mean, there's too many of them apparently in Idaho. My buddies didn't get all the tags that I did, but we were going to go anyways. And it wound up not working out for several health reasons in the family. We don't need to get into that, but the hunt had to be canceled. I was able to get a refund from Idaho Fish and Game, which apparently is extremely difficult to actually do, but I was able to get a full refund. So that was pretty cool. And then after that, we looked into doing it again the next year, and there was, there's even more people trying to do it. My buddies that were gonna go the first year, I think at least one of them went into the order queue to try to get an elk tag or something, and he was number like, I don't know, some, 70, 80, 100,000 or something, and so it didn't wind up working out. It's getting so difficult to do that I would like to, and if I can figure out a way to do it and the stars align and I'm able to, I definitely will. And I know there's ways to do things, but I'm also busy, got a lot going on, so I would like to. I can't say when or if I ever will. All right, one caliber, and here we go. Here's this question. This is the question everybody wants to know. One caliber and one specific load for hunting all medium to medium large game. So deer, black bear, elk. All right, so one caliber, 30-06. Why? Because it's done it, it's going to keep doing it, and you're not going to be undergunned, you're not overgunned, you're not going to be flinching from recoil if you shoot at some, ammo's available. A million different reasons my one caliber is 30-06. And one load, that's a little bit tougher. But if you're going to be picking one load for everything from, whitetail deer on up to, let's say, elk, you want to tailor your load to the biggest animal on that list, because the smallest animal you can certainly take with the load you can take the biggest animal with, but I wouldn't want to hunt the biggest animal with the, prime load for the smaller one. So if I had to pick one load in 30-06 for deer, black bear, elk, mule deer, stuff like that, I'm probably gonna go with Norma Bond Strike 180 grain. That would be my number one load. It has incredible weight retention. It's got incredible ballistics. The bullet is extremely aerodynamic in case you do get that longer shot. At close range, it expands incredibly rapidly, but still penetrates really well somehow. I think that has to do with the rate of expansion. So I don't feel hampered with it at close range either, and do feel very confident with it at longer range. At least longer range, what I consider longer range, what I would do. I'm not one of these people that's going to take pot shots at 900 yards, even if you can make that shot on, stationary targets. There's too many variables at play. The animal can take a step, who knows. But I would go with Norma Bond Strike 180 grain and 30-06. And then probably a close runner-up, if not dead heat, would be Federal Premium Terminal Ascent. Again in 30-06. All right, what is your go-to whitetail deer rifle and load 100 yards and in? So the overwhelming majority of hunting that I do is 100 yards and in. And I did a survey a while back and looked up a bunch of data. I don't go into anything half-baked. I look up a lot of information before I go off on a tangent or anything like that. The overwhelming amount of shots at deer throughout the United States are well inside 100 yards. So that said, what would my go-to rifle and load be? So I like to switch it up. I'll usually take 2 or 3 rifles when I go out to hunt and just switch it up. It makes it fun. And I don't really have a favorite, but I have a few that I reach for. Whenever I go hunting, there's a couple that I reach for. One of them, and you might be surprised, is my Winchester Model 70 Compact, or Winchester Model 70 Featherweight Compact and 243 Winchester. And the reason for that is it's such a handy rifle. It's so lightweight, it feels perfect. If you've ever picked up a rifle and hunted with it or shot it and it just feels amazing, that is what that rifle feels like to me. And for the kind of deer that I hunt, where I hunt, whitetail deer in East Texas, they're not the biggest deer in the world. They're really not. The 243 is actually a pretty good option for them. I mean, these are not, big 250-pound bucks like you guys get up north. They're just not. So 243 kind of works out for, the deer where I am. Another one of my favorites is a Marlin 336 and 3030, an absolute classic. And then another favorite is I've got a Winchester Model 70 and 270 Winchester. It doesn't get more classic than a Winchester Model 70 featherweight and 270 Winchester. I mean, that's the quintessential bolt action deer rifle in my opinion. All right, so what is the smallest caliber / cartridge you'd hunt white with? I'm stuttering over myself. I think I need a drink of water. I'm not used to talking this much at once. All right, back to it. What is the smallest caliber / cartridge you'd hunt? My gosh, I can't speak. Caliber cartridge you'd hunt whitetails with. Which bullet would you go with for this choice? I'm not looking to escape recoil, but I am curious about your thoughts of what the limit is when it comes to the less powerful side of the spectrum. So it's a good question. Interesting. So I have killed deer with a 223 before. I'll come out and say that I have done it. When you do that, and with any of your smaller cartridges, less powerful cartridges, I think you need to be really careful about the ammo that you pick. Now, anyone can kill a deer with anything when you're shooting at 50 yards under a corn feeder. All right, the deer's sitting there. You can wait for it to get perfectly broadside. You can take a neck shot if you want to. That's not how I hunt, and that's not how a lot of people hunt. A lot of people hunt that way, a lot of people don't. So my philosophy is I want some room for error. And the smallest cartridge that I currently hunt with or would be willing to for whitetail deer is 243 Winchester. I think if you pick your ammo right, depending on, where in the country you're hunting and, the size and, I guess toughness of your deer, I might go with something bigger, but for where I'm at in East Texas, I think the 243 actually fits rather well, especially if you're just a little careful with your shots and don't take stupid shots. And what bullet would I go with for that? So currently I'm going with Federal Fusion 100 grain. And I think that's a very capable option for your deer on the smaller end of the spectrum. Of course, it can kill anything if you put the bullet in the right spot. I'm not saying that. I like a little room for error. And I'm not saying that you should take bad shots, but I'm saying sometimes bad shots arise. And if they haven't, you probably haven't been hunting very long. All right, how often do you go hog hunting, or do the ballistics gel videos keep you too busy? If you still go frequently, would you ever consider possibly recording your hunt? So I mentioned it earlier, I used to go hog hunting a ton. I still go hog hunting as often as I can, and I usually do it after deer season. So, January through April when it's still cool out. If we get like a cold front or cooler weather up through May, I'll keep hunting pigs. But my favorite time to do it is January, February, March when it's still cold in winter. There's less bugs, less ticks, less mosquitoes, stuff like that. I still go every single year, multiple times. But I mean, it's nowhere near as often as I used to. There's just too much going on, life happened. And would I ever consider recording my hunts? So I've tried that. Last season, I tried recording some deer hunts and I got some footage, but I don't like it. I don't like trying to record my hunts. It's a lot more work and it takes away from my hunting experience personally, so I don't do it. What is your go-to rifle caliber for hunting average medium game? So this is sort of the same question as the what caliber and load would I pick for medium to medium large game hunting. It's sort of the same thing. But if I was just going to go medium game and not medium large, like say we cut elk out of the mix and I'm just doing, up to say mule deer, I mean, you still can't go wrong with the 30-06. I would say the 270 Winchester would be right up there with it though. And honestly, I kind of reach for both about the same amount of time. So for me, it's a toss-up between 270 and 30-06. You're hunting whitetail deer with a 308. Shots are within 150 yards, so this is a situational question. After all the testing you've done, what ammo are you choosing? All right, so I have a lot more 308 videos coming. I've already done them. They're just not live yet. I've tested the ammo though, and I know the results. So if I had to pick one, and I'm weighing all my different options, and I'm just hunting whitetail deer, right? Man, it's hard to argue with Federal Fusion. It really is. And the reason is you've got 3 different bullet weights to choose from, 150, 165, and 180s. So you can shoot them all and see which one your gun shoots the best. And then you just pick that one. So, I mean, simple answer to that question is Federal Fusion, whichever weight your gun shoots best. And at 150 yards and in, you don't really need to worry about, longer range ballistic performance, the aerodynamics of the bullet. It's not that important. Even further than that, it's not that important. But especially at 150 and in, you don't need a super duper streamlined bullet. I think you'd be well served with Fusion. And there's a lot of other options that would work, just as well. What's the longest shot you've ever taken while hunting? And what's the story behind it? So this is an interesting question. The longest shot that I've ever taken while hunting was, I don't know exactly, I didn't range it or anything, but it was a long ways. It was, if I had to guess, somewhere between 350 and 450 yards. I don't know exactly how far. It was a long ways. And it was at a coyote out in the middle of a plowed field. And I took the shot from on top of a truck's toolbox with a Browning A-bolt in .223. And I hit the coyote died, and that's the story. What is your favorite .223 5.56 hunting round? So I mentioned earlier that I have deer hunted with the .223 5.56. I don't go out of my way to do it. Can you do it? Is it capable enough? Yeah, I think if you pick the right ammo and you pick your shots, it can definitely do the job. If I'm going to be using it, there's one load I'm using, Barnes Vortex, and I'm gonna go with the heaviest bullet that my particular rifle will shoot well. So I'm gonna be trying to go for the 62 or 70 grain range in the TSX bullets. They hold together well, they expand some, you're gonna get penetration if the shot's not perfect. That's what I'm going with. Best calibers for hogs. So the simple and easy answer is anything that you're gonna whitetail deer hunt with will also work well for hogs. The sort of caveat is I've killed some very large hogs, and some hogs don't want to die. Some of them are extremely ornery, and if it were me, I would stick to sort of the larger end of whitetail deer cartridges, especially if you're not just hunting over a feeder where you can really, pick your shots really well. But if you're out hunting on public land and stuff, you want something that can really take care of business. I would start kind of with 30-30 Winchester on up. 270 and 30-06 do really well on wild hogs. They deliver that terminal shock and will put them down a lot quicker. So at the end of the day, really anything that you would hunt deer with, especially stuff on, not at the bottom end of the spectrum. What would I buy today as a blue collar Western mountain elk rifle? So I take that to mean a cheaper rifle that I'd be cool hunting elk with. Man, as much as I rag on them sometimes, the Ruger American really is a capable rifle. They tend to shoot really well. They do have an issue with the magazines. I've noticed it on a couple of mine where after a while, on the third round, the magazine, the front will kind of dip down and it won't chamber that third round. You got to manually push the magazine back up. And I'm not sure if it's the magazine or the magazine well. Actually, that's the issue, the little lip where it clips into, but it is a problem. So that said, elk are known to be bullet sponges, right? They can take some damage, especially if it's not perfect shots. So I need a rifle that I can rely on 100% of the time when I cycle that bolt for another shot. So that said, I'm going to rule out the Ruger American for that reason, and I'm going to go with a Tikka T3X. They're rather affordable. You can get them, especially like the blued ones with the synthetic stocks, the cheaper end of the spectrum. They're really not that expensive, extremely accurate, extremely lightweight. I have not had a single issue with mine. I've got a super light stainless in 30-06. That was my elk rifle that I picked for, I mentioned earlier I was going to go to Idaho and do an elk hunt. Didn't wind up going, but that's the rifle I picked for that. So I would go personally with a Tikka T3X Superlight Stainless in 30-06. And if you wanted to go a little bit cheaper than that, budget-wise, I would just get a base model T3X. Just the blued and synthetic stock version would serve you very well. All right, we are getting into the last section of the questions here. I'm glad because my voice is starting to get a little hoarse. So we're in the personal/other category. So I saw your article on your website where you mentioned getting a Great Plains long curve. So he's talking about a recurve bow. I'm one of the 2 bowyers at the company and was curious as to if you're still liking your bow, still shooting traditional archery, and if you'd seen the Great Plains Bows YouTube channel. So thanks for, reaching out, making the comment. That's awesome. I haven't shot my bows in like a year, probably 2 years. And I really need to. I really, really need to. I want to get back into it. It's been a couple of years since I've hunted traditional archery. I'm sure, as you know, the bow it takes practice. It's not something that you can just pick up and do when you haven't done it for a long time, like you can even with a compound bow or something like that. With a trad bow, you've got to keep at that practice. So I haven't done it lately. I really want to get back into it though. Still love the bow. The bow is awesome. It was a Great Plains long curve with bamboo limbs, beautiful bow. I ordered it in 2008, way back when, as I understand it, the original owner of Great Plains was, running the company. From what I understand, it was sold after that. Now you guys are running it, and I get your emails. I'm subscribed to your email list when you do new bow drops. You guys, it looks like you're still putting out incredible bows, up to on par, if not better quality than they ever were. So I'm glad you guys are still making them. And I did just check out your YouTube channel. That's awesome. I'm going to watch some more videos. But yeah, y'all keep at it. You're making good stuff. And also a couple of years, this was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, I bought, so it's when you guys, I think, would have been making the bows. I bought one of your youth model Osage recurves for my wife to practice with. So that's pretty cool. Let me see. I'd love to see behind the scenes of how you make the leather gear. So I've been meaning to make like a montage video for a while of the entire process. The YouTube videos, the ammo tests and stuff take precedence, as well as filling orders. When I'm not filming YouTube videos and editing YouTube videos, I am making my leather goods handmade. I mean, it's a lot of work. At some point, I'm gonna make a video. I wanna make a real artistic video about the leather stuff. At some point, I'll make one. Who is your classic country music star pre-1990? So I'm not a big country music guy. My favorite band, if I had to pick one, is Rush, and my favorite song is probably Limelight. I love Rush, but not a big country fan. If I had to pick one, and this is what I mean by not a huge country fan, he's not really a country, he's kind of country rock fusion, if you will, Hank Williams Jr. Big Hank Jr. fan. What is your favorite dinosaur? Now this is funny that this comes after the last question, because Hank Jr. has a song, and I think it might have been Hank Sr.'s song. I don't recall about that he's a dinosaur because he's, old school or something. Anyway, what's your favorite dinosaur? So it's the one off Jurassic Park where it's got the big frilly thing that's, juts out and he spits acid venom. That's my favorite dinosaur. I can't remember the name. And then we finally made it, y'all. We made it to the last question. Oh my gosh, I'm glad, because my lungs are about to give out. Who is the most ruggedly handsome guy that you know? And so I think I know who this question is from. Well, there's this guy who he's been living up in Missouri and he's moving to Arkansas, or maybe he already lives in Arkansas, I don't know. From what I understand, he runs tractors for a living now, but he used to travel the world and spread freedom. And I know him by the name of Lowry, so I'd say he's the most ruggedly handsome guy that I know, besides myself, I guess. But if you're watching this channel, you're all ruggedly handsome. And also, I almost forgot I was going to cover why I don't show the accuracy of these loads, when I go down to look at the gel blocks and the ballistics gel test videos. So I've re-recorded this like 10 times, this question, because I keep going off on tangents. Number one is range conditions. I'm shooting off a plastic wobbly folding table. It's usually extremely hot. There's almost always, gnats and flies and stuff buzzing around. It's not super conducive to the utmost in accuracy. And then number two, what I can do isn't necessarily what you can do. I'm me shooting on a particular day with my particular rifle. It's not necessarily replicable with someone else in a different rifle at another time. It's just not. And number three, and this is the biggest one for me, I'm testing hunting ammo here to show and compare, what ammo we might want to use for different kinds of game animals and hunting. It's all accurate enough. In the coming up on 200 different loads that I've tested, there has been like a handful, less than 5 that were inaccurate to the point where I wouldn't want to hunt with it. And most of those were your subsonic loads at extended distance for a subsonic round. So it's, kind of apples and oranges. It's not like you're going to use it for that anyway. Anyway, so that's why I don't show that. All right, y'all. So that was it for the very first Mason Outdoors Q&A session. My voice is about gone. I did all this in one sitting, but thank you so much for watching the video. One more time, I'm gonna hit it up. Join a channel membership as a range buddy or a range boss. Get priority comments and early access to all my videos that I've got scheduled. I'd love to have you come on board. Check out my website, masonoutdoors.com, for all my range gear and outdoor gear. I'm adding new stuff all the time. Everything you see, I personally use myself and recommend it with confidence. It helps the channel tremendously. And if you're looking for handmade leather gear, masonleather.com, get yourself something. Everything I make right here in this room where I'm recording this. I'd love to make you something and get it out to you. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy hunting.